Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I'm really sorry the lighting in this video is not the best and I have a very shiny face because being in Australia I of course got sunburnt at the weekend, didn't I? So I have lathered the after sun onto my face, so I am shiny, I am red, but do you know what? I'm still going to do this video, I'm still going to film it because I'm in the mood and I was feeling inspired, and yeah, so hopefully you can get past the red face, the red shiny face even, and enjoy this video. So the main reason I'm making this video is because I just hope that it will save somebody an awful lot of time, and yeah, you'll see why in a minute. But essentially I thought I'd do this video on things I'd known about when starting out in Australia, because there have been quite a few things recently that I've really struggled with, and it's taken me an awful lot of time, particularly paperwork, applying for things, and I feel like there are some really quick and easy hacks that I wish somebody had told me about beforehand. Now don't get me wrong, I'm really lucky in that I have quite a few friends who've been out here previously or who are out here at the moment. However, one, I know that they struggled with the same things, and two, that for some of them, if they've left, things have actually changed quite a bit since then. So what they told me isn't actually relevant anymore for me being here now. To be honest, it's about doing things in a certain order really. First thing that you need is a phone. So you need a phone number, an Australian phone number, and then after that I'd say the most important thing that you need is an Australian address. And then from there, once you've got those two things, you're going to want to get your bank account and you're going to want to get your TFN number. And then after that, once you've got those things, you can apply for your Medicare. So that's sort of the order that you want to do things in. This is probably going to be quite a long video, so I'm going to put timestamps down in the description below so that if you're interested in a certain thing, you can like fast forward to that time and just listen to that specific bit. But I do think it's really important to talk about all of these different things, and so it is going to be a long video today. So grab a cup of tea, grab a cold drink, whatever it is that you do when you're watching YouTube videos, and sit back and relax and listen. I know personally, sometimes if it's like a long chatty video, I do put it on 1.75 or 2.0 to listen and get that information quickly, so feel free to do that as well. But I just thought I'd say everything will be timestamped in the description below, so you can go through to the certain bits and also like go back to bits afterwards if you found certain bits useful. Just to sort of explain things from the start, I'm here in Australia and I'm from the UK. I'm here on a working holiday visa, sorry, and it is a subclass 417, I believe, and that's actually where I'm going to start. I'm going to start off with the visa process. So this was something I was quite worried about. I was worried it was going to take me a long time, I was going to get asked loads of questions to prove that I had the funds, etc, etc. I kid you not, this was the most simple thing to get out of everything that I've had to apply for whilst being out here. So I did it in the UK, I did it like a couple of months before I was planning to come out to Australia, and for me personally, I knew that I wanted to do the working holiday visa because it would allow me to work a little bit while I'm out here if I wanted to, but also it gives me the option to travel, and I can also extend it to a second and third year if I would like to later on. And so for the visa, I believe I just had to give some personal details, proof of residency, passport, all that jazz, and then the main one that I was worried about was that you had to give proof of funds that you could afford to be in Australia. Now there was lots of people saying lots of different figures, and I believe you had to show that you had the equivalent of, don't quote me if I'm wrong here, but I believe it was around 3,000 Australian dollars, so it's about £1,500 you had to give proof of. And literally all I had to do was download a bank statement that showed I had that money in my bank account and upload it. So applied for the visa, was thinking, oh, I'm going to get asked questions, I'm going to have to go for medical, la da da da. Kid you not, check my email about 2 seconds later and I have a response that says my visa has been granted. So yeah, I wouldn't stress about the visa. I mean, I'm sure other people have different experiences to me, but for me, this was definitely the easiest thing to apply for out of everything, the most straightforward and the simplest. So I wouldn't stress too much about the visa, but if you've had any other experiences with this, please comment down below and let other people know. Obviously this is coming from somebody who's a UK citizen, has lived in the UK pretty much all their life and has never been to Australia before, so it might change depending on if those things change for you, really. Okay, so the second thing that I wanted to talk about was getting an Australian SIM card. So I've seen lots of things online that say when you get to the airport you can just buy something at the airport, la-di-da-di-da. We didn't choose to do this, one, because everything seemed really expensive in the airport, and two, we didn't really need access to our phones all that much. Most places that we were going did have Wi-Fi to start with, and so we were able to find our way around for a little bit first without actually having any sort of Australian SIM card. However, if you're going to be staying for more than a couple of weeks, I would highly recommend getting a SIM card, because you're probably going to need it, and you're also probably going to need an Australian number for various other documents that you're probably going to have to apply for if you're here on a working holiday visa like I am. So what we actually did was we ended up going to a local supermarket, so we went to Woolworths, and they just had loads of pay-as-you-go SIMs, and we ended up going for a Lebara SIM, and the supermarket had deals on quite a lot of different SIMs, so they usually be like $28 and we were getting them for say $10 for like 30 gigabytes for the first month, so pretty good deals. And from the start this was tricky, so you really need an Australian SIM for applying for lots of things, and I will go into that in more detail in my next few points. So it's really important to try and get one. However, actually getting an Australian SIM card in the first place is tricky because you have to prove lots of things, and so when we tried to activate our SIMs through the app and online through the website, it didn't work because we weren't Australian citizens, we didn't have Australian passports, we didn't have a registered address. And so I spent an awful lot of time on the phone to Lebara with the team there, and they were trying to help set our SIMs up, and eventually it was working, but it did take a couple of days to get it working, unfortunately. And as well, unfortunately, the phone that my boyfriend has doesn't support a lot of the SIMs out here. I believe it's something to do with the fact that it's only made in the UK or in US or something like that. Like, it's not a readily available phone out here in Australia, and so lots of the SIMs aren't supported in it. So I believe he's got a OnePlus Pro or something like that, and so VoLTE isn't enabled on his phone. So if you are in the same position as him, then make sure you go and check your phone first. So go to different SIM providers, go to the shops and just get them to check your phone, put a SIM in it, just check that it works. So far he's found that Optus works for his phone, and so if you have the same problem, it might be the same case for you. But out here in Australia there's three main SIM providers, or network providers, sorry. There's Telstra, I'm probably saying it wrong, I'll put it on the screen, Telstra, Optus and Vodafone, and then they have loads of little carrier networks as well, which are often cheaper than the three main things, but have different coverage across Australia. So I think Telstra has the most, Optus is the second most, and then Vodafone is a little bit less. So they all have maps, so check the area that you're wanting to go to and check that they have coverage in that area. I know that mainly in coastal areas and cities you're absolutely fine with all three of them, but if you're planning to go out in the bush a little bit more remote, then some providers might not cover it as well. So just really double check that. And yeah, it's really important that you do get that SIM, because you are going to need your Australian number for the next things that we're about to talk about. So the next thing is having an Australian address. Now, you'd have thought that this would be simple, and that because you're on a working holiday visa, that actually people would understand that you don't have a permanent address, because obviously you're in another country, it's not your home country, you're on a visa over here, you're on a working holiday. But oh no, it's not that simple. So if you are here on a working holiday visa and you are wanting to apply for Medicare, you are wanting to apply for a TFN, you are wanting to apply for jobs, you are wanting to apply for most things, to be honest, for a bank account even, you are going to need an address. But it's a bit tricky because I appreciate that lots of people that are out here are going to be like me in that they're not going to want to settle in the same place for 6 months. They're going to want to be travelling about, spend a couple of weeks here, spend a month or so there, and so it's going to be difficult to have a fixed address because you're probably going to mainly be staying in hotels, Airbnbs, hostels, maybe doing some workaways and things like that, and so you don't really have a long-term fixed address. So all I would say is, when you are coming to Australia, try and do it so that you are staying in one place for around a month, and that will just allow you to apply for your bank account and apply for your Medicare, which are both really important things because you will need both of those to work, and also if you have any accidents it'll cover you with the Medicare. I'm saying a month because for both of those you will have cards that will need to be sent to those addresses, and they both say they take about 28 days to do. So if you can, try and get those for a month, and even if it's say an Airbnb or something, you can, well, I'm not sure how legal this is, but we've been told that you can get it sent to an Airbnb, and then as you move around as necessary you can change the address to different places. You just need that additional address so that you can get your bank card or your Medicare card in the first place. So yeah, having an address for around a month is really, really important. Or say for instance you have friends who are living out here permanently and they're living somewhere for 6 months, see if you can use their address to get your things sent to. And then for banking, obviously turn off your postal messages and things like that so that everything's sent to you online. Alright, next thing we're going to talk about is getting an Australian bank account. So this is something that I actually looked into before we even came out to Australia, and there are quite a few different providers that have bank accounts that are specifically for people that are international and are here in Australia on a visa, on a working holiday visa. And so there are lots of different options. We chose to go with CommBank. It just seems to be like the main bank out here, a very long-standing bank and seems to have a good reputation, and there are branches all across Australia, so it just meant that if we had any problems we could access things wherever we were in Australia. And so our original plan had been that we would open up our bank account, and then we'd actually found a mobile phone provider that had a deal with CommBank and allowed you to get reduced rates on your phone bill for each month by paying for it with a CommBank credit card. Now, this was where it got a little bit tricky because we applied online for CommBank like it said we could. We put all our details in and everything, and we went into branch to provide our proof of ID, which was our passports, and they turned around and said, you can't use your British number, you can't use your British address, you need to have a Australian phone number and you need to have an Australian address. So the Australian phone number was for the online banking, and also for when you get the you know, like the little OTP codes that they send you to, that you can log into your mobile banking with. So you had to have that, set that up, and then the Australian address was so that you could send your card to that address. So obviously when we first arrived we didn't have either of those things, and so that made it really tricky setting up our bank account. So this is why I wanted to talk to you guys about it actually, because when you go and try and set up your bank account you need to already have those in place. You need to have somewhere that you can send your card to. Online it will say you can have it delivered to branch. You cannot, they will not let you do that. You must have an address that it can be sent to, and you must also have an Australian phone number. So don't try and do something clever like we did where we link our phones to our bank accounts. It just doesn't work. Go and get a phone plan first and then do the bank account second. Okay, we are on to Medicare, and this is actually the reason why I decided to film this video, because I have spent so long trying to sort this Medicare out and it has been driving me absolutely up the wall, and I just wish that somebody had done a video or put some advice out there online, because I literally couldn't find anything, and again tried to do it too early, didn't have all the information that I needed. So this is me sharing that information with you so that you don't make the same mistake I did and you don't waste genuinely days trying to sort this out. So if you are a UK citizen like me, you get free Medicare in Australia because they have a reciprocal agreement with the UK. I think they must get to use our NHS when they come to us, and so we get to use Medicare when we're out here. So as long as you are a UK citizen, you can show that you have a passport, you can show you have a visa and some sort of other documentation. So I think I had to show my GHIT card. You can apply for Medicare. So you can apply online or you can send something in the post. Now, if you're like me and you're traveling, you're obviously not going to have access to a printer, so try to do it online. Now, the actual form is fine, but yet again, you must have Australian phone number, Australian address. You cannot use a British phone number or a British address. You must also have an Australian bank account. Again, you cannot use a UK one. Don't know why, doesn't seem to work. So you must have those 3 things before you even try and fill out the form. Okay, so had all those things, tried to fill out the form, and every time I downloaded this form off the internet, it locked it. Don't know why, it just kept locking it, and I tried to look online everywhere, couldn't find anything about it. And I kid you not, I have tried to fill this form out so many times now, and today I was like, I wonder if I open it in a different browser, it might work. And lo and behold, if you open it in Google Chrome or whatever you want that's not Safari, you can edit this form and you can download it and it won't lock the form. So this is my biggest advice to you today, guys. Edit the form in Google Chrome, download it from Google Chrome, and you will be able to send the form off to Medicare, and you can do it via an email. And it's actually really quick and easy, but I wish somebody had told me that before, because I have spent so long trying to do it through Safari because I'm an Apple user, and I literally wanted to cry. So yeah, don't make the same mistake as me. Open the form in Chrome, do it all in Chrome, download it from Chrome, and the form will not be locked. But if you do it from Safari, it will lock itself, and then if you send it to Medicare and it's locked, they won't even look at your applications. When you send it as well, this is another one where you need to be at a certain address for around 28 days, because it says it can take 28 days to process it and for you to get the Medicare card. So that is my advice on that one. Honestly, I'm sure this bit will probably save so many people so much time, because I wish someone had told me this like 3 weeks ago, because I've wasted so much time trying to send off this Medicare form, and it's been stressing me out, because I was like, what if something happens and I hurt myself out here and I'm not covered? I mean, obviously I have travel insurance as well, which would cover me for some of it, but you know, it's best to have as much cover as possible when it comes to your health. Okay, so another thing you're going to need when you come to Australia, particularly if you're wanting to work out here, is a TFN, and it's basically a tax file number. And again, this is something you can apply for online, but you need to wait until you're in Australia to apply for it. I don't think you need an address for this one, but from what I remember, you do need an Australian phone number, and you will have to give proof of like your visa and your passport and things like that. But to be honest, this is really straightforward to do, and I did it online. But like I say, you can't do this until you have your Australian phone number. Alright, and the final thing that I wanted to talk about is actually not related to documents or anything. It's actually to do with public transport. So if you're like me, you're probably coming out to Australia and you are not going to have a car the whole time. It might be that you hire something a couple of times if you want to go to places that are a bit more remote and hard to access via public transport. But on the whole, you are generally going to be using public transport while you are out here, and so I just wanted to chat a little bit about that, because I had no idea what it was going to be like coming out here. And we started off in New South Wales in the Sydney area, and the public transport there was absolutely fantastic. They had trains, they had the underground, they had trams, buses, and it was all really easy to use. You could just tap on and tap off with your phone using your contactless card, and it worked absolutely fine. People did also have something called an Opal card that they used, which is a bit like the Oyster card that people have in London, and essentially works in the same way. You just charge it with credit and then you pay using that. But for us, it was just really easy to use our contactless cards. And the other thing was that they have a limit on the amount that you can actually spend on transport a week. So I can't remember exactly what it was. In my head, you can't spend more than $50 a week on any public transport. And once you hit that $50 mark, that's it. So no matter how much public transport you do each week, it won't cost you more than $50. Really, really good in Sydney. You can even use the ferries as well. So if you want to get across to Manly and places like that, you could use your contactless card and everything was absolutely fine. However, we then went to Queensland, and I just assumed it's Australia, it'd be exactly the same. So we used our cards on and off the train, like our contactless cards. Absolutely fine, no problem on the train. Same on the tram, didn't have a problem. And then we tried to get on a bus, and the guy was like, nope, sorry, you need to have a go card. and we were like, what's that? And basically it's the same as the Opal card, but it's the Queensland one, and you have to have a card to get on and off buses. You cannot use your contactless card, which is really silly because it doesn't say that anywhere. And we managed to get on the train and on tram with our contactless cards, so it seemed a bit weird that the buses didn't work. But anyway, this is me telling you that you need a card for buses around here, and please get one before you need to get the bus, because we'd been waiting for ages for this bus. It was late and we were all sweaty with all our luggage and everything, and then we got refused, didn't we, because we didn't have these cards. So it's extremely frustrating. So I don't want the same thing to happen to you. So yeah, check before, when you're going to the different states, whether you need like a top-up card or something, or whether you can just use contactless to pay when you're using public transport. But on the whole, the public transport out here has been great. It's been really good, really efficient. You've been able to get to most places that we've wanted to go to. So I'm really quite impressed with Australia's public transport, to be honest. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up now because I appreciate that it's a really long video. However, like I said at the start, I thought it was really important to talk about these different things, because I really wish I'd had someone who could tell me all of this before I came out to Australia, when I just arrived, and so that I wasn't stressing and trying to figure this out alongside living out here and getting to experience and getting to understand a new culture and a new place. I'm actually going to see if I can just have it written out in the description below about the order that I think you should try and do things in. So I think I briefly discussed it earlier, but for most things, the first thing that you need is a phone. So you need a phone number, an Australian phone number, and then after that, I'd say the most important thing that you need is an Australian address. And then from there, once you've got those two things, you're going to want to get your bank account, and you're going to want to get your TFN number. And then after that, once you've got those things, you can apply for your Medicare. So that's sort of the order that you want to do things in, and I'm going to try and leave that in the description below, because I think that's probably the most useful thing in this video, that is the order that you should do things in. I will also try and leave links in the description below for the different things that I've talked about, the different banks and stuff that I've used, the different phone providers, just information really. I'm not sponsored by any of the things that I've talked about in this video. This is just my own personal experience while I'm out here, and also the things that I've talked about, again, it's just my own experience and things that I've read online. I'm not an advisor in any way, but I just thought it was really useful sharing my experience on this, and like I say, I hope that it will help other people when they come out to Australia, knowing what to do, how to get themselves set up, just because it's the little things, isn't it? Like I said with the Medicare, it's really nice to know that you're covered and that it's all sorted in case something did happen. I mean, nobody wants to get hurt on holiday or while they're travelling, but it's really important to have those things put in place so that they are there should the worst happen, and so you don't want to be having to stress about that and not being able to focus on enjoying your holiday or your trip. So yeah, I hope you found this video really helpful, and if you have any other experiences or any other advice that you think is worthwhile sharing with people, please put it in the comments below. Honestly, I learned so much from reading comments on people's videos and things like that, so any advice, please share it in the comments below, and I'm sure it will really help a lot of people watching this video. But yeah, for now, I will see you later, and thank you so much for watching this YouTube video. Bye guys!